dude. I thought you were playing with 17-inch wiener.
You are mentally irregular. Let me just share that with you. In case nobody has told you that before, you are mentally irregular.
Wiener dog.
27 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
Lift off.
2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piwowarski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most from the co-host with the most. Here on the Rundown, 2A Views, conservative news. And Craig, guess what day it is?
It's Taco Tuesday!
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yum. It's like a dream.
It is definitely like a dream. I love Taco Tuesday. I will tell you, it continues to remind me of what is best about America, and that is our food.
We got great food. We got great food here. And American tacos, not so much. Do you remember the tacos you used to get in high school or in middle school, junior high?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And that was, you had that store bought, Dorito chip shell, right? And they
Yep.
dump in yesterday's hamburgers into it, and then they have some
Mm-hmm.
shredded cheese, diced tomatoes that went on top, and there was ketchup outside to put on it if you wanted it.
Oh no, just mind you, it sat there for at least a day because the grease had started seeping through the shell.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, because they chopped up yesterday's hamburgers when they were still hamburgers after they didn't get eaten, and they,
Well,
sitting in
it
the pan.
was mystery meat before it was hamburgers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And that's what it was. It's called meat, not beef. Yeah.
There you go. So I worked part of the time when I was in college. I worked at a middle school, and I did the campus security, and so we would do it at the lunch lines and everything. And it was interesting watching the canned meat, just watching it sit there. They would open it up and they would pour it, and they would watch the grease and everything just drain out of it. I was like, that cannot be healthy. And they worked miracles with that meat. I called it miracle meat because it didn't look like meat when it first came out, but by the time they were done, it was delicious.
Yeah. Working at the middle school, that must have been back before the injunction, I'm guessing.
Very funny. Mikey's got jokes. Mikey's got jokes. Well, anyway, sir, dude, we got some great stories today, man. There is some big things going on. Trump is just continuing to win right and
Winning.
left, winning most definitely, and I don't know, I'm enjoying it. But we're gonna get into it here in just a second. But before we do, we got to do what we always do, and that is start with a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yep. Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. If you got yourself an AR in the past 5 years, probably got one of their barrels and don't even know it. Now you can buy from them factory direct for any pistol caliber, any rifle caliber, any length you desire for your next AR build or rebarrel your current AR platform. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. If you want the best in tactical concealed holsters on the market, get on over to Hog Holsters. That's HAWG holsters.com, hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. That's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get yourself a nice little discount. If you're looking for some field gear, outdoor gear, web gear, law enforcement, police, security, whatever it may be, get your agency together, get your group together, give yourself a call, make an order at uscombatgear.com where you can get everything but the gun. And of course, today's special guest sponsor, our good friends over at Lion Arms. That's lionarmsusa.com, lionarmsusa.com. Check out what they have online. Find something you like, including firearms, and you get 15% off. Just give them a call and tell them you saw us on The Rundown.
That's right, folks. Please take a moment and visit our sponsors. The links to their websites are in the description to this program. Finally found this video. And I still have to find a way to try and remove him so that I can have the green background. But I figured you might appreciate this since we've been talking about getting this for a while.
Start. It's a good start.
It's a great start.
Yeah, it's the first win.
But
that we can claim to be completely original, which excites me, which puts me in the zone of winning. I'm by winning. I win here and I win there. Now what? Let's just do it. Let's meet this thing head on. And you were in it to win it. Talk about an education. And then like this, and then that's the guy, and he's our dad, and we can get all the answers and the truth. Wow, winning. It's how you perceive it. Just retired because I'm done. I'm not very good at it, and they keep winning and building bigger houses than mine. Defeating the naysayers. You're either winning or you're losing. There's nothing in between.
How do you plan on winning that war?
With zeal and focus and violent hatred. You finally just go, yeah, good luck. You're going to need it. I'm going to be over here.
There's a whole nother minute of that, but he's just talking about winning. I'm like, I
got to pull that winning out. Winning.
Yeah, I just got to find that just to pull out all of the winnings. You have to wonder. I bet you could probably create a board game just trying to guess what combination of drugs he was on as he's doing those interviews.
He's so wired and weird right there. He's probably on nothing but caffeine and nicotine, I bet. Because I know he's clean, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, California clean?
Yeah, California clean. Only beer and weed. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little too hyper to be on weed, but
yeah.
Yeah, dude is an interesting cat, we'll put it that way.
Yeah. And he's winning.
And he is winning.
Tiger blood.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. All right, folks, want to remind you we are on live. Now, today we're on live on YouTube, on Facebook. We're live on Facebook today, and we're live on Twitter and Rumble. So if you are watching at 3 p.m. Pacific and 6 p.m. Eastern, go ahead and let us know what's up. Let us know what you think of the program. Let us know if you'd like to share your comments, and we will share it with the audience if we find it to be interesting, whether we agree or not. But if we disagree, as I always like to say, we do reserve the right to mock you. So that's how we roll.
Just like that.
Just like that. Okay, let's get into today's topics because I did want to make sure that we focused and we talked about Donald Trump and winning. And I say that because the president has been handed two significant decisions by the Supreme Court, in the same day. I mean, it's kind of cool within the same 24 hours. I'm not sure if they were the same exact day, but they're actually very, very big and play a major role in the work that the president is trying to do. The first has to do with, as the LA Times wants to call it, mass firings, but I like to say deciding not to continue or not to go with the options to keep probationary employees. But a San Francisco judge had put a nationwide kibosh on his ability to be able to lay folks off. Not only did he say you couldn't lay them off, he said you had to rehire probationary workers. Now, last I checked, probationary means, yeah, you're not permanent. We can let you go, especially in places like California that are at-will states. Anyway, it says here, the Supreme Court on Tuesday rejected challenges to the Trump administration's mass firing of new federal workers by a 7-2 vote. So that wasn't a slim margin, but by a 7-2 vote, the justices set aside a ruling by U.S. District Judge William Alsup of San Francisco, who ordered the administration to immediately rehire 16,000 probationary employees across 6 departments of the government. In a brief order, the High Court said the judge improperly based his ruling on complaints from 9 nonprofit groups who said they would be affected by the cutbacks in staffing. But the established law, but under established law, those allegations are presently insufficient to support the organization's standing, the court said. Justices Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson said they would have denied the administration's appeal. The decision is the third in the past week to overturn a judge's ruling at the behest of the Trump administration. So that's ruling number one, Mike, where the justices were basically said that, yeah, these lower court justices really kind of overstepped their bounds in the nationwide injunction. But not only that, in terms of separation of powers, the president's ability to do the job of the executive branch of government.
Yeah, this ruling, Craig, is I'm not as excited as I am about the other one, because this one, it basically says that the reason they have to stop what they're doing is because the people that brought the suit forward didn't have standing. So that's the reason why. Not that there was anything wrong was done by the president. That's not there. But they're saying these groups brought forth the suit. They weren't the ones being harmed by being fired, that these other groups did. So, like, if you brought like Craig, say you and I had something done wrong to us, it would be like if a third party went and sued on our behalf. Well, it doesn't work that way. They weren't affected by it. So this one may end up, if I understand the way the law works, and I'm not too bad at it, this one may end up back again at some point before the bench, because if they get the actual people that were affected by it to file the suit, then we'll see what happens then.
Right, exactly. Now, the other ruling that he was talking about has to do with the use of the wartime law for deportations, where basically you can deport people who are members of a nation or whatnot, or an organization that is basically deemed an enemy of the state. And that's exactly what one of the things that President Trump has done by getting rid of the folks from Tren de Agua and as well as MS-13. Well, the U.S. top court, that would be the Supreme Court, allows Trump to use this wartime law for deportations. It says here the U.S. Supreme Court has cleared a way for President Trump to use the rarely invoked wartime powers law to rapidly deport alleged gang members for now. A lower court had temporarily blocked the deportation of alleged Venezuelan gang members to El Salvador on March 15th, ruling that the actions came under the 1798 Alien Enemies Act needed further scrutiny. Trump has alleged that the migrants were members of Tren de Agua gang conducting irregular warfare against the United States and could therefore be removed under the act. While the administration is claiming the ruling as a win, justices mandated that the deportees must be given a chance to challenge their removal. Which, quite frankly, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem, number one, with the law. But in terms of challenging their removal, well, then all you got to do is, are they members of the organization that has been deemed an enemy of the United States or not? If you are, and we have evidence that you have been, or that you are, then you're gone. It's that simple. So I like it because what they're saying is, yes, we can still get rid of you, but you do still have a modicum of due process.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge win right here. Huge win. First off, so Judge Brosberg, whatever his name is, all that nonsense he said about turning the planes around and you can't use this authority to get them out. It's done. It's over with. All right. So I know he's still saying, well, I expect answers to my interrogatories that I sent to the DOJ. They have to answer, otherwise they're going to be in contempt. That's over with. He's got no standing anymore whatsoever. He does not have the authority, and the Supreme Court makes it clear he does not have the authority to say the president can't use that act. The Supreme Court said they do. The second portion of this, Craig, the appeal, did you notice it did not say they must appeal through a federal judge? It says they must be given the opportunity to challenge, okay? And guess what DHS has? Guess what INS has? Guess what DOJ has? And all here, they have hearing officers in the INS, so you can challenge that. So they will be able to challenge it with DHS.
Let's see. I ordered you out. You want to stay. Whatever shall I do? Looks like you got to go.
Yeah, you got to go.
But But you
So
know,
this is
in cases where I like this because in cases where maybe someone just has a bunch of tattoos, and you know, maybe they're not members of that organization. I don't know. Maybe they just got caught up because they were hanging out with members of the. I at least like the opportunity for people to be able to make the case if they're not.
Yeah. That's not MS-13. That's MSI-3. That's what it is.
MSI-3, exactly. They're actually, you know, the secret service there in Great Britain. That's why I have a Spanish accent. I want you to know I was from Great Britain.
There you go.
Judges who keep putting these injunctions in place, who keep going after the president, they're all liberal judges, and they're all, quite frankly, overstepping their authority. And there's a reason why, even in the other one, it was an overwhelming ruling, was because once again they're overstepping their bounds. How does one single judge, right, a district judge, get to decide the policy for the entire United States government, get to overthrow the power of the president of the United States? I don't see how you get to do that. And I think that's where many on the courts are as well.
They don't. And it's not in the law that they can. They have authority over their district and only to those people affected by that specific act or object there in their district. And that's it. And most of the time, it has to do only with the complainant unless it's a class action.
Right. That's usually the way it goes. But for some reason, they seem to think that they can do it willy-nilly. And I think that eventually what you're going to see is the Supreme Court is going to start to put some limits on that. They're going to start to clarify exactly what's going on with that. I think that when you have the President of the United States calling for impeachment of district judges, I think that when you see the Supreme Court, when you see John Roberts defend those judges, I don't think he's defending what they're doing. Just, it's kind of his job to look after the judiciary. It's kind of like, look, I'll discipline my kids. You don't get to discipline my kids.
Right. I'd be more interested to continue following what Speaker Johnson is doing, because it's up to the Congress to defund those individual districts. They can just make that district judge be gone.
Right. Well, he could still be there. He just ain't gonna have no money to run the court or get paid.
That's right. And there'll be no court. There'll be no court reporter. There'll be no court security. There'll be no court building. That's it. It's done.
Right. Anyway, it's going to be real interesting to see what winds up happening with all of this stuff. But once again, it now makes it definitely possible for other things to continue to move forward. And once again, these are major wins for the Trump administration. Well, put it this way. It's set up a mode for something else that's going to be happening here real quick, and that has to do with the CBP1 app. Now, you might remember this app. This was the app that basically the Biden administration utilized in order to basically let people just enter into the country, just let them into the country illegally. Or it would give them quote unquote legal status as asylum seekers, whether or not they were actually seeking asylum. It was an app. You go in, you get an appointment with an asylum officer, and then they fly you in or let you just walk right into the United States or whatever. You get an appointment sometime in the next 2 years to meet with somebody, and you get to work here and be here. It was a way in which, once again, to help people who should not be in this country get into the country. Well, that app has been retooled. You might have recalled we talked about that about a month or so ago. That app was retooled and turned it into a deportation app. In other words, it was a way in which for people to report that they are going to be self-deporting. And a number of immigrants had actually decided that they were going to, in fact, utilize it to self-deport. Well, now they've gone a little bit farther than that. And that is now that if you have or you have not said that you were going to self-deport, well, now you have been alerted via this app that Homeland Security has revoked your legal status, and you need to leave the United States. This here being reported by The Guardian. It says migrants who were temporarily allowed to live in the United States after having entered the country via Biden-era online appointment app have been told to leave immediately, officials said on Monday. It was unclear how many beneficiaries would be affected. Since January 2023, more than 900,000 people were allowed in the United States after using the CBP One app to schedule appointments with immigration officials and apply for asylum. So I'm guessing more than 900,000 people are who it applies to. Moving right along. They were generally allowed to remain for 2 years with authorization to work under the presidential authority called parole while awaiting their cases to be heard. Quote, canceling these paroles is a promise kept to the American people to secure our borders and protect national security, the Department of Homeland Security Media Affairs Unit said in response to questions. Authorities confirmed termination notices were sent to CBP One beneficiaries, but did not say how many. Once again, I'm guessing about 900,000. Those receiving notices were urged to voluntarily self-deport. How are they going to do that? Via the same app. Using the same app they entered on, which has been renamed CBP One Home. Wow. Once again, continuing to win, eh, Mike?
Yeah. More. Bye-bye. Adios, muchacho. God, goodbye. Goodbye.
You know, so to a certain degree, and I feel bad only for this reason, because Trump, no, let me finish. Biden said, hey, you can legally come in. And the problem was Biden did not have the legal authority to do it. He should not and never should have allowed that to happen. And they should have known that that should legally have never happened. But at this point, I'm like, look, no. He subverted the process. There is a reason why, and quite frankly, there is a reason why he should have been impeached, and this is it. Because he literally tried to legalize or tried to get around immigration laws in order to allow people to illegally enter our country. And a lot of these folks, they're not just coming here and doing jobs that people won't do. They're coming here and they're becoming dependents on the United States government, on the United States taxpayer.
Yeah, taking all them checks, all them handouts. Exactly right. That's exactly what's going on.
Yeah, and in fact, as you will learn from our next story, that is one of the things that Doge actually has discovered. That's right. According to the Department of Government Efficiency, they're noting here that millions. Let me just be real clear about this. I'm not talking hundreds. I'm not talking thousands. I'm talking millions of people. Doge official claims shocking fallout from Biden's mass migration. Millions of migrants on Medicaid, thousands now on voter rolls, and many are in fact voting. That's what they're noting here. It says here, Department of Government Efficiency official Antonio Garcias said millions of migrants who were welcomed to the United States under former President Joe Biden are now on the nation's Medicaid rolls and voter rolls, with some having voted in last year's election. Most recently, Doge chief Elon Musk said that potentially millions of illegal aliens who arrived in the U.S. under Biden have secured Social Security numbers. In a recent interview with All In Podcast, Gracias, detailed how easy it was for migrants freed into the U.S. to get Social Security numbers under Biden's watch. And if you're watching here, you see the number of cards, the number right here. It's over 2 million in 2024 alone, almost a million in 23, and then up to almost a million in fiscal year 2025. Most of that during that first 20 days that Biden was still president. Mike, I'm sure this is of no surprise to you.
We've said this over and over, right? They come in, they hand them a driver's license, they start getting their checks, they get a Social Security number, they start voting, they start collecting Medicaid. How many times have we said that here? And the response from the left has always been, no, it's not what we do. No, in some instances they could vote in local elections. That's it. Just lies.
Well, and, in places like California, we literally had to borrow $6 billion because we couldn't cover the costs of illegal immigrants on Medi-Cal. right? On our medical program, because we offered free Medicare and Medicaid and all of that to, once again, to those who are here illegally. At a certain point, you have to say, look, we still have a homeless problem here, for example, in the state of California. We're having a hard time taking care of the people who are here. How are we going to continue to allow people to come into the country and allow them to basically live off of our taxpayer dollars, especially in California, where that taxpayer group is shrinking on a daily basis?
Because, Craig, they continue to let them in, give them benefits, and allow them to vote so they can take control over the Democrat Party, so they can outnumber by millions, the 49%, swing vote that we saw on the Republican side. It's exactly right. No, they can't vote. They can't vote. Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
Yeah, well, especially when you have places like California where you have a motor voter law, which basically just as soon as you go to get your license or you could register your car, they automatically register you to vote. And we've found at least tens of thousands of people in California who are registered to vote who are not legally allowed to vote. They haven't said whether or not they have voted, and they haven't gone fully into all of the numbers. But rest assured, there are tons of people in California who are on the voter rolls who should not be voting.
Right. See, we have a motor voter law in Florida as well, but they check their immigration status and their legal status in the country before they put them on the voter rolls.
Right. And one would think that if you haven't, if you're not legal, well, first of all, you know what? I'm sorry. Voting is a right. I don't think you should automatically be registered to vote. I think you should have to take steps in order to be able to exercise your right. I believe in voter ID. I believe that you should have to prove who you are when you go to vote. I just think we make voting too easy. And when I say we make it too easy, it's because, for anyone who doesn't cherish the right to vote, I'd rather you not vote. I really would. If you don't cherish it, if you don't believe in it as a fundamental part of a responsibility of who you are as a citizen, I'd rather you not have a say. I'd rather you just not.
Yep, I see your point. Yep.
Yeah. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying,
I'd love for everybody to be informed. Unfortunately, the majority of people know, if they know anything, they know the top of the ticket, that's it. And the rest of it, they're just doing the Christmas tree on.
Yep. They're voting. They're picking their party. Is it an R or a D? And that is who they're voting for.
Yep.
And folks, nowadays that's not enough. I just can be honest. It's not enough because there are plenty of R's that I wouldn't give you 2 cents for, and there are actually a handful of D's at the local government level that I would probably encourage you to support, because I find the divide between Republicans and Democrats and local government tends to be, not always, not even mostly, but it tends to be a little more, there tends to be a little bit more common sense amongst Democrats and local government than when you start getting into state and federal government.
Yeah. Yes, I would agree with you.
Yeah, and you also tend to find that some of those folks actually tend to change parties when they move up into the higher offices, interestingly enough.
Yep.
All right, folks. Well, that now brings us. Our next story here. I almost forgot. I was about to skip a story. Major cuts in the CDC. That's right. Major cuts in the CDC. And guess what department they are in? That's right. They are in the Division of Gun Violence Prevention. I know some folks out there on the left, they're kind of like, why would you be happy about that? Because gun violence or gun violence prevention is basically code for we want to take everybody's guns. That's really what it is. Anyway, this being reported by the folks over there at the Second Amendment Foundation. It says SAF applauds staff cuts in CDC's gun violence division. The CDC shouldn't be an entity we look upon with disdain as gun rights advocates. I mean, no one should look at it that way, assuming they're doing their job correctly. But they haven't. They've been beating the gun control drum for decades, and at some level, including claiming they couldn't fund research into violent crime because they weren't allowed to use taxpayer money to push gun control. So it's kind of satisfying to see some changes being made by the Trump administration at the CDC, and their changes anti-gunners don't like. they can learn to deal with disappointment. From a press release sent by the Second Amendment Foundation, while the gun prohibition lobby is lamenting reported reductions in staff at the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the Second Amendment Foundation is applauding the Trump administration cuts, which will hopefully take CDC out of the gun control arena, at least for the foreseeable future. And I think that's really the main point right there is the CDC is about diseases. And quite frankly, they see the right to keep and bear arms as a disease. And they want to remove our right to be able to keep and bear arms so that, they in their eyes, they can get rid of the disease. And what they don't understand is it's violence. Like it's about the violence. It's not about the gun. And by disarming the citizenry, all you do is provoke those who want to engage in violence against the citizenry.
That's right. And it's those with guns illegally that are going to be doing that as well. There's no more such thing as gun violence as there is baseball bat violence or hammer violence, Craig. It's violence. And none of it is under the purview of the CDC. So this was a Biden initiative. It's actually an Obama initiative that Biden carried on that is now going away. Because, again, just like we talked about they can do with some of the district courts, we're not going to get rid of the program. We're just going to get rid of the people.
There you go. No people, no program.
Yep.
That's where, if you guys want to if you truly want to understand how a lot of this stuff works, if you get rid of the people, there is no program. About somewhere between 80 to 90% of federal dollars that go into these programs are paying for people. You lay off the people, there's no program.
That's it. Put the folder in the drawer and close it.
Problem solved. Once again, how do we say that? Winning. All right, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, and get your Hog Holster today. I wanted to share this first video with you because, I know that people seem to be losing their minds. The left and the media are losing their minds about what's been going on with the stock market the last few days, and which, by the way, last I checked, I believe it had rallied and was on its way back, at least up today. It was relatively flat yesterday, although it was kind of going up and down. But I wanted to give you some real perspective. And because this comes from this particular one comes from CBS News, I think you can take it as, even if you're on the left, I think you can take it as fair. I don't know about unbalanced, but at least fair.
We end this turbulent week with a note of perspective.
In 2020, when COVID sent stocks plunging, the S&P 500 lost a third of its value in less than 5 weeks.
Now, keeping in mind that past performance is not indicative of future results, take a look at this. After the market hit bottom in March of 2020, the S&P gained back all its losses in 5 months.
And in 5 years, the index has more than doubled. Even with this week's losses, since the COVID crash, the S&P is up 126%.
In the long run, the stock market always goes up. As long as you are not overly leveraged, meaning you didn't borrow money to invest more in the market to get yourself more of a return, or you don't have to cash out your investment right now, you're good.
Yeah. It's, every time we got to talk to you about this. This is normal. It's expected.
Exactly. And now, this is not going to prevent people from losing their minds and from protesting and all of that stuff, like all the stuff that's going on with Doge. In fact, last weekend there were a bunch of protests against Doge of various different Tesla dealers. Well, this one gentleman decided that he was going to go out and record them and give them a little trouble, shall we say, a hard time. There you go.
Don't touch people. Come on. Keep your hands to yourself.
This is fire
Keep your hands. They're so. Why do you always go to violence and King Teslas and throwing Molotov cocktails? Why do you always have to get violent? Peaceful protest. Peaceful protest. Peaceful protest. Peaceful protest.
Now, for those of you who were listening and were wondering what that beep was, that constant beep, he was going over them looking like he had a radar detector. But Mike, that wasn't a radar detector, was it?
Like a metal detector. It looks like a metal detector, hand wand.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. Like a metal detector, except it was a retard detector.
Retard detector. Yep. And it was just going off crazy.
It was just going off crazy. All right, this next one, for those of you who are fans of the national anthem, but also want to seek diversity in the performance of that national anthem, I think you will enjoy this one.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem. Singing will be a black, transgendered, blind, mute, and deaf, and armless person named Juanita. How are they gonna sing the national anthem?
Too soon? Too soon? No.
Too soon. That was wow. Yeah, I love that one.
That's a good one.
I don't know why, but that one was funny. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of our program today. But before we go, you know what we got to do. We got that one last thing. We got to give one more quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yep. Say hi to our good friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. You can get AR barrels and rifle caliber, pistol caliber, any length you desire for your next AR build or re-barrel your current AR platform. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. If you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, web gear, law enforcement, security, fire, whatever it may be, get your group together, get your agency together, and get on over and place an order at uscombatgear.com where you can get everything except the gun. And if you want the best firearms around, get on over to lionarmsusa.com. That's lionarmsusa.com. Custom builds, whatever you want. Let them know you saw us on the rundown. He's going to give you 15% off. That's lionarmsusa.com.
lionarmsusa.com. All right, folks, that is going to be it for today's program. We will be back tomorrow on Hump Day. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and we will see you tomorrow.